This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. This is a sponsored message. I've been using Anchor as my podcast host for a while now, and it's been a pleasure to use. Anchor offers benefits that most other hosts do not. It's free to use, but it also has a collection of tools that allow you to create a podcast completely within the Anchor website or smartphone app. They distribute your show to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other distribution channels without any additional effort on your part, and you can make money from your podcast without any minimum audience size. So you can use it as a more traditional podcast host like I do, but it's also got everything you need to start a podcast from scratch. If you're keen to give it a shot, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Axios, Greenland ice melt will raise sea levels by nearly a foot, new study says. Global sea levels will rise by about a foot on average, which is about 30.5 centimeters, by 2100 due to ice sheet loss in Greenland, according to a new study published on Monday. This study's findings are especially dire because they say this rise is baked in, and there isn't much we can do about it. Even if we somehow stopped all greenhouse gas emissions tomorrow, this would still happen. And all we can really do now is work this data into our plans and try to keep a bad situation from getting any worse. The most overt threat from sea level rise is the loss of coastal land, which will be underwater most or all of the time. But such an increase will also make flooding worse, destroy coastal and swampland ecosystems, and cause problems with clean water supplies globally. From the Associated Press, China announces 234 arrests in provincial banking scam. Government officials in the central Chinese city of Shucheng have announced that 4 county-level banks were taken over by what amounted to a government and law enforcement entrenched mafia, which stole a bunch of money from would-be investors who were told they would be paid high interest rates of up to 18% annually. This story is especially notable because folks who were scammed and who tried to get answers were prevented from reaching their regional capital or visiting the banks behind the scam because of a change of status in the COVID infection app all Chinese citizens must have on their smartphones, which were changed to red, which means they are locked down and confined to their homes. Other victims who sought answers were attacked by organized mobs while police watched and did nothing, while still others were threatened by police. Chinese officials are still unraveling the full extent of this scheme and its associated governmental corruption, but 234 people have reportedly been arrested thus far, and the Chinese government has said it's working to make sure everyone who had their money stolen is made whole. And from the Washington Post, Mississippi's largest city in water crisis as treatment plant fails. The governor of Mississippi has announced an indefinite state of emergency in the city of Jackson following the breakdown of a vital water treatment plant and urged residents to boil their water if they still had access to it, which they soon wouldn't before consuming it. The National Guard has been called in to help divvy out bottled water to the 160,000 or so residents of the city who no longer have access to potable drinking water and soon wouldn't have access to running water at all. The crisis was sparked by significant flooding that reportedly caused water pressure issues that completely knocked out a water treatment plant that was already struggling to function. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com, and you can support this and other related projects like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts at understandery.com.